welcome back to Mexico for the MXGP of Leon. MX2 race 2 just around the corner. And before we arrived here, Tim Geiser had a 13-point advantage over Paul Jonas, but that all changed in race 1. We'll see the highlights shortly. And also from Max Anstey's point of view in terms of the championship, as this is the penultimate round, Anstey arrived here 44 points off the lead, but he has reduced that gap as well. So there is still everything to play for in race 2 in the MX2 GP of Leon. So far then, the rain that was due around about 3 o'clock has stayed away. It's still pretty sunny outside. It's warm, it's humid, it's muggy. And the track's still drying out. But as you can see, 22 degrees, 58% humidity. But there are still some ominous-looking clouds over there on the horizon. That's not because of the rain. That's just because of the heat trying to shelter themselves over there on the far grandstand right in front of the triple jump. But, as I said, hopefully we'll get through this second MX2 race without any rain whatsoever, but then after that it can pretty much do what it wants for the start of MXGP, because if it rains, the race will be a go, and that'll be that. But this 1,500-meter long circuit, flat in its design. There are quite a few jumps out on track, just like there were last year, but we are 1,800 meters above sea level here, around about 6,000 feet. So bikes have been running a little bit slower than they otherwise would do when we head to Europe and other lower altitude venues. See the MX2 riders just coming towards the end of their sighting lap right now. But before we go any further though, if you missed it earlier, it was a mudder in MX2 race 1. Here's how it went down. The gate dropped. It wasn't the best jump for the 41, the championship leader, or former championship leader Paul Jonas, as Petrov, Gio and Van Donnik and Kulas locked bars going into the first corner. And Petrov did not rejoin the race, couldn't get the bike started. Gio did though, and he eventually got himself further up the order to 10th. But Jonas didn't go out in free practice in the morning, didn't go out on the sighting lap either, and was just picking his way blind in the early stages of the race, as were a lot of riders. Petrov still tried to get himself up into the race. The Honda mechanics wondering about Tim Geiser. Well, he started in 4th place behind this guy here, 41 Jonas, the 99 of Anstey, the 6 of Paturel, and the 33 of Julian Lieber. Well, he had a very interesting race because for him on lap 2, he went from 6th to 10th, and he fell around 5 times in the race in total. Eventually, Julian Lieber was classified as 14th place. Geiser, though, lap 2, started lap 3, got it wrong over the finish line jump, was short on the landing, and the back end and the front didn't work in sync with each other, and he got pitched over the handlebars. As Tyler Rattray looked, here's another look at it. The back end just going round on Geiser, the championship leader. He fell from 4th. Covington went through the flash of green there on the Monster Energy Kawasaki. Geiser, though, able to keep the engine running and rejoin the race. Jeremy Seawer, well, he had an eventful race as well. He started up in 9th, he got himself to 7th, fell back to 11th. And Valentin Gio picking himself up after the start crash. Also had one of those races where just he can't buy luck at the moment. What about the number 10 of Calvin Valandren on the HSF Logistics Motorsport KTM? Well, he got himself in a good position, came home in 7th. As one of the local riders came in for new goggles, wasn't the only rider either, because Julian Lieber tested the liquid at the side of the track, picked himself up, 3 corners later was down again. So a difficult race for the standing construct Yamaha riders. Also for Brian Sue on the Rockstar Energy Suzuki Europe machine. He came in, so too did Lieber, for fresh gloves, fresh goggles. And what was a very muddy race indeed. Flags were waving as Covington went through. Geiser making a couple of mistakes, but then got himself back onto the rear wheel of Covington as they challenged for 4th position. One of the standing boys went down again. I think that was Gio. But up front, Paul Jonas was quite handsomely clear of the number 99 of Max Anstey. Eventually coming home 4 seconds clear, but that didn't tell the whole story because the gap was considerably bigger than that. Geiser, though, tried to regroup, go back after Thomas Covington, but to no avail. but no dramas for this guy here. The gap was 13 points at the start of the race. It's now 4 going into race 2, and it's the first ever race win in MX2 for Paul Jonas. Max Anstey's got the gap down to 38 points with his 2nd place. Benoit Paturel came home in 3rd, Covington 4th, and Geiser came home in 5th. And the guy in the hat there, Gustavo Pedrero, a Monster Energy bull riding athlete. Good to have him here.
Hello and welcome to the start of the 2nd MX2 race of the day. Conditions starting to dry out a little bit, so we'll see if that affects the race. I want to speak to Thomas Covington. Thomas, you were actually one of the lucky ones in that first race. I know you got the foxhole shot, your first foxhole shot of the season, and you actually played quite a safe race, didn't you? So just tell us from your perspective how it was.
Yeah, I came out of the gate really good, just launched out, and then just swung a little bit too hard in the first corner, and like 4 or 5 guys got around me, and then after that it was just tried to stay on 2 wheels the whole race. It was pretty gnarly, just fighting the bike the whole time to stay upright. So ended up finishing out good with a 4th, and hopefully I can do the same here in the 2nd moto.
And in terms, you said it's quite gnarly out there. I mean, these sort of conditions are really a test of sort of concentration and fitness levels. So it's not just about going fast, is it?
Yeah, for sure. In the first moto, it's just about staying up and not making any big mistakes. But the track's looking a lot better out here for the 2nd moto, so hopefully we can get some speed going and actually have a good race.
Enjoy it. Thank you, Thomas. From one rider that had a good first race to another one that wasn't so lucky, it's Julian Lieber. Julian, not the best first race for you. I mean, it was quite unlucky. What happened?
Yeah, what happened at the start, I had a bad start. And then I was full of mud, I crashed. Yeah, and I had to come back in the pits, and after I broke the bike, so a few laps before the end, so it was not good, finished 14. But yeah, we'll see the 2nd moto is a new moto, so new start, new race, so we'll see.
But to be fair, you weren't the only one that went down. A lot of the guys actually went down in the tough conditions. But now it seems to be drying out a little bit. Is that going to change the race?
Yeah, I think it's going to change the race. Track looks a bit better now. We have to see, and hopefully I'm going to make a better start and yeah, make a better results too.
Enjoy your race. Thank you, Julian. Time now for MX2 Race 2.
And the latest news is that after that crash, as we look at the start list, this is how the riders finished in their qualifying race yesterday. Jonas on pole for the first time in his MX2 career, obviously following that up with a race win as well, his first ever in the class earlier on in the day. But Petar Petrov, Team Monster Energy Kawasaki rider, we saw him crash at turn 1. I spoke to Valentin Guillot just before the riders went down to the waiting zone to take to the track for their sighting lap, and I asked him what the problem was, what happened going into that first corner, and Valentin Guillot of Standing Construct Yamaha Yamalup said that Petrov was just slightly ahead of him as he started to come across. The handlebars touched and they locked together, and there was no way out, and the two then were lock bars and they drifted off to the right as everybody else was turning left. Of course, Brent Van Donnick got caught up in that as well. So too did Harry Kulas. Kulas, though, managed to keep it on 2 wheels and go around both the stricken bikes of Petrov, Guillot, and also the 172 of Brent Van Donnick. But Tim Geiser was not a happy rider at the end of that first race. He made that mistake going from 4th to 5th, and yeah, he'll be looking for something different in this race here. Obviously, that gap now down to 4 points. But Petar Petrov, we're told, has gone to hospital just for a scan, just precautionary, just a little bit of pain around the neck and the shoulder area. So hopefully nothing too serious, and hopefully he can get on the plane and we'll see him at Glen Helen in a week's time. The final round, of course, of the 2015 FIM MX2 Motocross World Championship, and that will be the Monster Energy Grand Prix of the USA. Adam Wheeler on trackoffroad.com joins me now, and good to see you're well dressed, Adam, with the Wellington boots on, because a little bit muddy in and around this place, isn't it, after all the rain that we had last night?
Certainly, Paul, fully armed. You know, had to stop off and get some boots this morning. But the track's drying out a lot. It's a question of whether we're going to see a slightly bigger, drier line, which, you know, is going to have a bit of a restriction on the racing, or whether there's going to be some choice for the riders to make more of an event compared to the first moto, we can say.
Well, the 15-second border's turned to 5. The gate is about to drop here, and a couple of local guys at the inside. A good jump there from Kulas, but looked like he just got held up there as he crossed the gate with Jonas, just like he did in the qualifying race yesterday. Has he gone down, though? Yes, he has. There was a KTM going down through the first turn. Jonas, he goes down on the exit of the corner. It looked like he probably got a 2-in-1 there. A foxhole shot and a crash let's have a look at this. Did he catch the bank? Oh, he just lost the front, and has he been run over here? Oh, yeah, straight into Lieber. Lieber into him, and Geiser also. So Geiser will see that. He will know that the challenger is down. That gap down to 4 points after that first race, Adam. The track a lot drier, a lot faster. It's still going to be boggy in places, but Geiser has now an opportunity to rectify those problems from earlier on.
And for the second Grand Prix in a row, Paul Jonas has gone down on the first corner, Paul. I mean, let's see how he's going to be able to come back through this for sure. I mean, he's going to get points regardless. 16th position, right at the back of the pack. Now it's just another damage limitation exercise like it was on Assen 2 weeks ago.
And already picking up a couple of points there. Brian Borges has obviously had a problem there as well on the HSF Logistics KTM.
Is that a broken radiator shroud on the KTM there? Just to see if that, because if that comes off and goes through the front wheel, then he's going to have more problems.
Oh! Geiser down the inside of Paturel. A good start, though, for the 321 of Bernardini. And these guys leading the way here. Wait for him to pop up over the left-hander at turn 11. So,
HSF
leading the way. The Calvin Belandron leading the way. First GP for him this year after arm injuries at the start of the year. And Covington there in second. Benoit Paturel is third. There's Geiser in red in fourth. Then Bernardini in the yellow helmet in fifth place. Then is that Guillaume, I think it might be, just behind him in sixth place. Then, no, actually Lieber, then Guillaume, Guillaume then Lieber. Either way, the two standing boys are right there where they need to be. Yeah, Lieber, then Guillaume. But Jonas having the misfortune of taking the foxhole shot and then crashing over the line at the same time. So, but he won't be too worried about that because he wants to get those points back on Tim Geiser. And judging by the way the bikes were running yesterday, Adam, that KTM has more than enough legs over the Honda, doesn't it, as Geiser goes through there ahead of Kulas? Because that wasn't breathing very well yesterday, was it? Just looked a little bit lackluster in its performance. Yeah,
I think one of the Honda have been struggling. You know, Tim Geiser wasn't too happy when he was talking about the bike setup. You know, of all the people struggling with the elevation here, the HRC Garibaldi team were trying to get that right formula. And even in the first moto today, I don't think they quite cracked it. But Tim Geiser would have seen Jonas down on the floor, so he's going to know that he's got a seriously good chance for extending that points lead going to the last Grand Prix next week.
Yeah, and there's only, like I say, 15, 16 guys on track, so half the work is done. It's not like he's trying to find his way through on a fast-drying racetrack, but a significant dry line, you know, on the obvious race line. He hasn't got to find his way from 32nd or 33rd place, for instance.
And the riders are taking the track a lot more compared to the first moto. It really is humid, it's hot out there, Paul. It's drying things up pretty quickly like we saw yesterday in practice and qualification. Because we had a lot of rain on Friday, probably more so than we did last night. But yeah, the track is going to be interesting. You can see how dry it is in certain hard-packed sections there. So at times, through speaking to the riders, they're saying it's really quite tacky and it is sticky. But in other places, it's very slick and hard. You know, I think they'll lose control without really much of a warning.
Well, just give you a quick idea. And look at him already on the rear wheel of Valentin Guillaume. So he's going to be in about 8th place. Here's Paul Jonas. And like I said, you know, making light work of coming through the field because, you know, a couple of riders not out on track this time around and whatever else. So,
well, watch Covington, Paul.
Yeah,
for the lead. Finished third first moto or fourth? Fourth. So he's on point for perhaps his first podium in Grand Prix. And that strange kind of phenomenon where he does so well in overseas events but doesn't quite crack it in Europe.
Well, we've got here Bernardini going after Geiser. So Bernardini on the factory TM, third rider in shot. He's well placed.
Yeah,
he's in fifth place. Look at Jonas already finding his way past Valentin Guillaume. Here's Lieber just ahead of him, and Jonas there without the front number plate on that Red Bull KTM.
It's I'd like to know how much of a risk he's taken to push through here. I mean, he's going to have sort of. He's had a power. So close there to.
But you know what? Yesterday there was an off-camera comment that was picked up by one of our team where he did the interview post-race qualifying, took his first qualifying race, and basically said you know how easy it was to win that race. But let's take a look at the start again. Kulas there, 151, third rider down, just got hooked up. But over on the far side, gate number 1, number 41 there, Jonas. Does he catch the bank on the way in? Because he pulls the foxhole shot and then goes down. Look at that. They've obviously prepped the track, and what, 2-3 guys hit him, Lieber being one of those, catching his arm as well, possibly. And we look at that incident, and we talk about Max Nagel, how unlucky he was in Germany. Got hit by Philip. Oh! Jonas! Oh! Jonas, just like he did in Sweden. Oh!
The bike has to be totaled.
Well, how hard was he pushing? That was the question you answered. You asked a moment ago, Adam. He taking the goggles off, is he?
It's done. He's the bars are.
Ejected himself out of the race just like he did in Uddevalla. How hard was Paul Jonas pushing on that Red Bull KTM? He was in 6th place going after, just past Julian Lieber. Banksy there just looking on. Handlebars are completely trashed. Let's look at this again. Oh, got it completely wrong. Chad Reed, eat your heart out. That is a big moment. And again, very lucky on the ankles, on the knees, on the hips.
Just folded his pelvis there, really. It's just scary stuff. That's, like you said, Paul, the second big escape by Paul Jonas this season. I mean, at times then you don't even think about the championship, do you? What kind of points you're losing. I mean, he came through the pack superbly. What was he fighting for? Sixth position?
He'd gone up to 6. He'd just passed Lieber, and he's now been pushed down, well, 13th at the moment in terms of our split times. But I can't, no, he's not finishing that race. He's probably in pain as well.
Yeah, the adrenaline would be easing off now, wouldn't it?
Right, so obviously 4 points clear.
Look at the bars, completely sort of tilted to the left.
Yeah, but then we look at the bars from Roman Febvre. Okay, Roman Febvre's crashed slightly different in Maggiora, but the way that he picked the bike up and rode with those handlebars almost at 90 degrees, that was a bigger crash, though. A far bigger crash.
For me, Paul, that's a pit stop. He's coming in, he's going to try and get that front end sorted out.
He has to go out and get points, doesn't he? Because it's not like he's not going to score points. So at the moment, Jonas is down, what, 10 points and 11 points now. It's going all the time.
I'm just curious as to how that crash happened. It looked like a little bit of a kicker just coming up. It just seemed to pitch him right now.
No, just behind Bernardini there. Yeah, he caught a kicker, didn't he?
I mean, look how much higher he's going in the bike.
Ugh.
And this impact
and
here.
I tell you what, he was lucky the bike bounced the opposite way as well to him. Knees, everything.
It was folded up just like a...
He was fortunate that he landed on the downside.
Oh, it's a reverse view of it. Look at it.
Look at that.
Oh.
Oh.
I've lost for words, really.
Yeah, struggling to go. There he is, pulling into pit lane now. Is he going to park it? Is he just going to try and get those bars? There's Valentina running in towards as well, the team coordinator. But once again, just like we saw, second race early on in the race 2 weeks ago in Assen, Wayne Banks and Dirk Grubel.
He's trying to get the handguard off there, or... The second Grand Prix in a row, just like complete drama for Paul Jonas. He just seems so incontrollable. Pole position yesterday, was never headed. First motor as well.
He's going to be a lap down again, just like he was then.
Yeah, but I mean, the bike is just in a ridiculous shape. There's the
he'd set the fastest split. Look, he'd set the fastest first sector, 27.
Yeah, no clutch. Clutch gone. Sorry, Paul. He set the fastest sector. Was coming through. Here's Thomas Covington. He's leading now after we've been concentrating on the drama of Paul Jonas trying to resuscitate his World Championship bid.
And Dad Mitch is here as well. I saw him just in the background on the start line earlier, but good to have him here, of course, Mitch Covington. But what's that done now then? Covington, Verlander and Geiser, they are your top three. Championship lead over there then, 5.35 for Jonas and 5.54 for Geiser. So that gap going back out again.
You've got a new lever on there for the clutch, just trying to straighten the front end. Dirk Grubel, team manager.
Yeah.
The gentleman giving the heavy foot there.
Almost a little bit like Mike LaRocco's old man at the motocross, at one of the...
yeah, Jonas, sorry, Paul, just waving there, says, get me out. You know, if he doesn't get back out there, then you know, well, he's going to finish at the very least 16th and get a couple of points. I mean, he's not... Tim Geiser's not going to be crowd world champion today.
Well, that's going to be the gap there, isn't it? He's now going to be hoping on Geiser not making it higher up than third place on that Garibaldi Honda. But problem is, when there's that much kick going through the front wheel, trying to straighten it out, they're in danger then. If it hasn't already buckled the disc, bent the disc on the front, because then he might not have a front brake either. So suddenly, you know, it's going to be heart in the mouth stuff if it wasn't already for Paul Jonas.
Right now, Paul, I'm just wondering, what is he going to feel like tonight? He's been clattered in the left leg on the first corner, run over on his left arm by Julian Lieber, and then just taken a swan dive from, what, 30 foot?
30? Are you sure? He was a lot higher than 30 feet, I guarantee that. But Covington, the fastest rider on track, at 2:01.695, 2.5 seconds clear of Calvin Verlanderen. Is that Van Donnet being passed there by Bernardini? Yep. It is, yeah. So that puts Bernardini. In fact, no, Bernardini's on his way down. So Jonas rejoins the race, but at the start of the race, here's what happened. He was already off the bike, doing his best Marc Marquez impression. Elbows down, and then lost the front, but...
Watch Geiser on the anchors there, look, just trying to...
Yeah, Geiser's looking at that, just rubbing his hands in glee almost, but he ran over the leg, maybe the bike. Julian Lieber definitely took a little bit of him as well. They've straightened those bars out. He's got a clutch. Paul Jonas is back in business, but what can he do in terms of he's 16th at the moment? But Thomas Covington, what a great ride for him. And 1 week before the US Grand Prix, or the Monster Energy Grand Prix of the USA.
Talk about perfect timing. If you stick the flag out now, he's on 43 points, and you've got Benoit Paterel also heading for his first podium in second place. Only he's 5 points behind. So
that would be a GP win for him. He had 2 fourth-place finishes earlier on in the year, of course, Thailand and Argentina. Overalls in classification, of course. But setting the fastest lap of the race again, a 2:09 compared to the 2:01.8 of Valanderen. And this guy here, 2:02.1, Tim Geiser. But yesterday in the qualifying race, Adam, we were stood over on the infield. Geiser's bike just wasn't hooking up as good as the Kawasaki of Covington and the Yamaha of Julian Lieber, that both guys were ahead of him. And so Covington really is in a good position here, isn't he? Because this guy here, Valanderen, in second, first ride back really, well, first Grand Prix since, you know, the arm injury prior to the start of the season. And, you know, he's literally question marks over fitness.
Yeah, Covington has, you know, almost a 10-second gap over Geiser. But like you were saying, Paul, Geiser trains with a 450. He's a rider that likes a lot of power. So at a track like this with the altitude, you know, if the Honda isn't quite firing like it normally is, then he's going to be restricted.
Track's still pretty rutty in places, and that might have just been the downfall of Paul Jonas catching something on the face of the jump, but obviously something wasn't right there, clearly. But Covington leads. We've got 18.5 minutes to go. Valanderen second. Geiser is in third. Is that Valanderen off the side of the track? I think it was. I think Calvin Valanderen, possibly, or was it...
Is it one of the KTMs?
Was it August? Well, Bernardini's going off the track, that's for sure. So Koulas going through. So Bernardini out of 7th position. Koulas was down in 11th, so he's in at least 11th position now. Samuele Bernardini on that factory TM. But who was it going off in the background? Yeah, Valanderen, I think, possibly, because he's come back over our split point, has been set in third place now.
There's a replay. Is this from
So this is Bernardini just dragging the front wheel through the rut. And but it was Valanderen that, I'm sure it was Valanderen, because the only other guy in the white is Brian Bogus. So
there's Geiser. So there, you're right there, number 10, just behind Geiser now. But
so the big thing now here, Adam, is 17.5 minutes plus 2 laps to go. That gap between Geiser in second and Covington, the race leader, 10.9, 11 seconds. But Covington setting another fastest lap of the race, a 2 minutes dead, 0.2, and a 2:02.5 for Tim Geiser. I wonder how much information Geiser is getting from his crew to say, you've got points here, take the points, because Jonas is still down in 16th place. So, you know, he can't do any more than take those extra 3, but at what risk?
But I mean, he almost hit Jonas, so he must be thinking, well, he's behind me somewhere. He's going to know there's only 16 riders in the race, so he's going to be getting some sort of points, even if he is last or hasn't finished. But Jonas, I mean, what is he, 2 laps down to everybody else? Maybe
much,
3? Yeah, Covington's lap 5.
Yeah, they've
Jonas
completed
3.
5. Jonas completed 3, he's on his 4th, and they're already on their 6th lap, aren't they? So obviously picking himself up, then rejoining the race, then going down, and was cruising that lap back to the paddock, to the pit lane area. So,
but what an escape. You know, unbelievable reversal of fortune, but, you know, what an escape in one way.
Yeah.
And after a pretty kind of static first moto, what drama at the opening of this one.
Yeah.
I mean, we thought we had it all last year, didn't we?
Didn't we just, with Hurlings returning back from a broken femur way premature than he needed to. There's Anstey. So Anstey's been quiet. He's down in 12th place at the moment. So he's obviously been down as well.
Yeah,
so
look, is that front brake lever gone, perhaps?
But this is also, this could be where his championship ends, because look, 5:05 for Anstey in third, 51 points, Geiser. So that means with 50 on the table for next week, Max Anstey cannot win the championship irrespective of what happens if he stays where he is. So the best he can hope for now is going to be second in the championship. But of course, you know, 15.5 minutes to go. Max Anstey still got a lot of work to do. What was his lap time last time around? A 2:12.
Yeah, but Anstey, I think, Paul, it looks like that front brake lever's tucked under the bar. It's been down somewhere. Came around the first lap almost last, so made a good start in the first moto, but second one just hasn't worked out. It's been a little bit the story of a couple of Grand Prix this year for him, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, the last 2, you know, obviously looping out bizarrely in the second race after winning the first race in, was it the first race?
In Assen,
yeah, Assen.
and Czech Republic as well.
Yeah, first race, wasn't it? And then he won the second race, but
Well, as it stands here, you know, we've got a Monster Energy Kawasaki on the edge of winning this Grand Prix. Dylan Ferrandis, the only other winner for the team this year. Tim Geiger's second place, going to get, you know, he's going to put himself in a fantastic position for World Championship victory next weekend. And then Benoit Paterel on the Khmer Yamaha, only 1 week or 2 weeks after they took their first podium result in Grand Prix, looking to give the team a second one, and his first, of course.
Here's Julian Lieber. He's in 5th place on the standing construct Yamaha, 2 seconds off the lead of Thomas Covington on that Monster Energy Kawasaki, who still sets the fastest lap of the race, 6 laps in. We wait for him to come over the line in 7th place, and we've never really seen him up front too much, have we? You know, when we've seen Thomas Covington make good starts in 3rd, 4th, 5th front end, just going on the Yamaha there, he's just looked very conservative, almost because the amount of bad luck that he's had in going down in first corners or bad starts in general. You know, he's just obviously thinking, right, I can sit here in 4th and just pick up good 4ths and do the solid thing. But here he is. He's been let off the leash, hasn't he? And could be looking at 25 points, his first race win, and with it, the first overall Grand Prix. He's got 5 points in hand over Tim Geiser. Geiser, even if he passes him, will only gain 3, and Covington will still win the Grand Prix.
Covington in his second full season in Grand Prix. First with a stable team, you could say. Started last year as a wild card for Monster Energy Kawasaki, then moved across to the CLS, where he's currently competing and then set to change teams next year. So committed to another season in Europe. 19 years old, 18, 19, so still young, still got a good few seasons left on the 250.
There's Harry Kulas. So Harry Kulas on the Wilvona-Star Husqvarna.
I spoke to Harry Kulas in the break and said to him, oh, was that fun right into that moment? Yeah. What are you asking me? Is it just a silly question?
No, but he actually he did all right, didn't he? He ran wide with when Guillaume and Petrov ran wide at the first turn, and Van Donnick went down, got back to 7th for
Jeremy Sewer. I said to him,
6th place.
how many times, number 91 on Suzuki there, so how many times did you crash in the first moto? He said, oh, I think it was 4, or maybe 5. I said, well, I lost count after 3.
I think the record was probably Julian Lieber. I think he crashed 5, at least 5, and maybe 6.
I was disappointed from Lieber because he was quick yesterday. You know, he was like one of my outside kind of bets for a podium finish here. So he was probably dismayed as many other people and seeing how wet it was, because he's a great little rider in the dry.
Well, you see how much mud they've been shifting off the track. Look, you know, big piles and piles of wet slop stuff. Oh, and Monticelli almost losing the front end on the way out there in 8th position. Jeremy Sewer just behind him, number 91.
Remember, February actually said after the first motor pool, there's quite a bit of choice out there. A little bit of line choice, places to pass.
What's the reason for no Brian Sue? Did he crash and hurt himself? He actually crashed in Mantova, didn't he, and hurt his wrist at the start.
Yeah, his right wrist, yeah.
And maybe the pain from that. He did ride the first race, of course, finished in 16th place, but he did come into pit lane with a few laps to go. So maybe just nursing that injury from, 3 weekends ago.
And they come around the dragon back here, nice section to watch. They come and loop back round, and then they've got a big off camber. I'll point it out when we come around to the track, but she crashed there in the first moto. You know, being only sort of 16 years old, 15, 16, God, my ages are not good today. But yeah, he struggled to pick up the bike, just looked absolutely exhausted by the whole experience. And so a tough second Grand Prix.
Tough first Grand Prix. Good ride in the first one in Mantova, 8th I think it was, and then second one was, yeah, like you say.
We qualified 8th, yes. Oh, Sewer, not much room there.
Not a lot of room for him to manoeuvre in, but he gets alongside the Marchetti Racing Team KTM.
A lot of riders struggling on that turn there, quite a few crashes. This is the off-camera I was talking about. The ruts here are unbelievable when you're standing next to it. They managed to make a bit of maintenance in the brake, but trying to get through there in the first motor when it was like slicker and wetter was a real feat.
Monticelli just bouncing his way through on that orange KTM ahead, and look how... and the problem we've got now is the ruts, yeah, he dives across the outside of him. The ruts now on the top of those hills there are just starting to dry out, so they will be really, really crispy on top, and there'll be a lot more movement through the front end. And Kulas goes through as well, so... Oh! Just a little bit short there.
It just looks strange, Paul. It's in some places, you know, you can open the throttle heavier, and other places you have to be so careful and so delicate, it seems.
So 10:45 on the clock. Thomas Covington now 10.9 seconds clear of the World Championship leader in MX2, Tim Geiser. Calvin Verlanderen is in 3rd, Benoit Paterel 4th, and look at Thomas Covington still setting fastest laps of the race in terms of sectors. Second sector, the fastest of the race so far for Thomas Covington now.
And Lieber just trying to chase Paterel. He's looking to be the top Yamaha.
Paul Jonas has gained a position and a point, so he's now into 15th place. And he's also set his own personal best sector in that same sector, so what, 3/4 of a second off of Thomas Covington, having had that big crash and a run-in repair as well in pit lane. to change the front, change the clutch lever, straighten out the front wheel, straighten the bars.
Was it even a crash? It was more like a flight, wasn't it? Or
it was
a total ejection.
It was an ejection, definitely. Well, here's Calvin Verlanderen. He's in third place, coming towards us, but then behind him, Benoit Paturel. Paturel looking at taking his podium here this weekend. Third overall at the moment on the same points as Tim Geiser. He might bump Geiser down to second if he finds his way past Verlanderen. And for the rider who started the weekend, 9th overall in the championship, 2 4th overalls for him in Lockett, the Czech Republic, and Lombardia, Mantova in Italy. And that's him here in blue, number 6, closing in on the guy in white, Calvin Verlanderen here, number 10 on the HSF Logistics KTM.
The first motor was a great ride by Paturel. He really just kept consistent, kept steady, you know, kept the bike up. Took his first top 3 of the year, Paul. You know, it'd be a deserved podium if he could actually seal it here.
And a nice end as well to the season for the Kimiya Yamaha squad, because, you know, Brent Van Donnick getting third in Assen, and suddenly consecutive weekends for the Belgian team.
Yeah, both riders tied up on multi-year deals as well. Paturel for another 2 years, Van Donnick for another 3. So, like we mentioned in Holland, those 2 riders to watch out for in this class.
Getting closer to Calvin Verlanderen, the young South African. Lives in the Benelux area, doesn't he? Sort of Holland, Belgium. Rides a lot in the ADAC Championship in Germany. Former European 125 and 250 Championship runner as well. Finished on the podium in, you know, in those title campaigns, but had a couple of wildcard rides last year in MX2, but this should have been his first full season. But here he is, having to wait till the penultimate round.
As well.
Yeah, Lieber bouncing his way through that Dragon's Bag. And it's a very difficult section, that, isn't it? There are 4 going in over the top, and then another 2 plus 3 big rollers around that next corner. And the riders don't seem to have a consistent way of getting in and through there, do they? Some try to go outside and double in, but it's short, but then it messes you up over the top. And then if you try another way, you end up getting short and bouncing your way over. And it's, you know, one of those energy-sapping parts of the track where the riders just don't get time to breathe.
Just watching these 2 go around, you can see different corners where there are line options. There's not too many. You know, Paturel will take a slightly inside one there, but they come out together. There's not, like, fantastic opportunities for passing. I think we can see, you know, Paturel struggling slightly with that. I wonder if he knows Lieber's there.
Well, yeah, he's going to go wide, isn't he, and leave the door wide open. Lieber's going to be right through without a sniff of a second invite. But Paturel, look, round the outside, and it's already there. So Lieber just catches Benoit Paturel. Good riding, though, from Paturel. Responds immediately, but then loses it right away once again. So 2 passes between the 33 of Lieber and the 6 of Paturel. And he's just had a little bit of time behind him, hasn't he? He's just caught him on the rear wheel, Paturel, caught Verlanderen, and then got caught napping just a little bit.
Verlanderen set to finish 4th overall here, Paul, so it'll be certainly his personal GP best, as he said, after a couple of wildcards last year. I know he was highly rated by several teams, inquiring after his services. And Lieber's just left Paturel behind here. Just one of the Frenchmen, you know, probably knows with a potential 3-5, then he'll finish on the podium. That'll be his goal. I know Hans Korver's owner of the Kimiya team said over the weekend that he was actually a little disappointed not to be the first rider to give Kimiya their maiden podium in MX2. That, of course, going to Brent Van Donnick in Assen 2 weeks ago. So Paturel, too little, too late, perhaps. And Lieber making a move on the inside.
And he's going to go through as well.
Trying some nice lines, Lieber. He's doing some different stuff. He was wide on that corner beforehand. And coming through here, here's one of the places that's pretty tight. Not many options. No one's going to go up the inside and get caught in all the slop. There's Van Donnick, yeah.
So Van Donnick then out of 10th place. So he'll be looking on as his teammate goes by and thinking, right, that was me a couple of weeks ago.
There's Paul Jonas. Where's he now,
Still
Paul?
15th. And still waiting for him to come over the line. He's 2 laps down and, 10 seconds down on the guy just ahead of him, Brian Borgers.
He's coming over the line in a moment, going past the pits. So another couple of seconds. But then what is the gap to Borgers?
Well, we'll see, because Borgers, yeah, about 9 seconds. Here's Geiser, championship leader. Oh, he bounced his way, and he knows it as well. He shook his head when he landed, and Anstey cruising. So I wonder if Anstey, just problems with that front brake, and he's watching Geiser go by and thinking, have my World Championship dreams been shattered now? Because Anstey on, 5:05 and 51 clear is Tim Geiser. So he's not going to be able, judging what happens here in the final 5 minutes of this race, Geiser, if he stays up in second position, he will extend his lead. He will leave here on 5.56. Anstey will leave 50 points. So it's 5.56 and 5.06, so 50 points down.
Mathematically possible.
But mathematically not,
No,
because
no,
he has
Geiger's
race wins and Grand Prix victories on his side.
Well, Geiger's on 4. If Anstey wins both Modos and the Grand Prix next week, then he's going to be on 4. So it goes down to Modo. I reckon it's pretty tight, you know.
It would be tight.
What happens then if they're tied on Grand
Goes
Prix
back
and
on
Modos?
seconds and thirds, doesn't it? But I think I'm just trying to think now, with Stephen Clark last year when he won the European Championship, he had a race win, but no overall round wins. Brian Boger's had 3 round wins, but no race wins, and lost the championship. So it goes on race wins. So I'm guessing then it will be, we'll have to consult the handbook, but be second place finishes possibly in that respect rather than overalls.
I'll be amazed if you don't have the handbook here somewhere.
I do have the handbook here, but with 5 minutes to go, I don't really have a chance to...
It says reaching into his bag. Tim Geiger was 10 seconds behind Thomas Covington. We haven't seen that much leading this race, but he's just kept really steady, isn't he? It was 8 seconds, maybe 15 minutes ago into this moto. So Geiger really just nursing this home. Another good performance. We didn't expect him to win in the sand 2 weeks ago. Well, not many people did anyway. And this has been, another steady performance by Geiger, who's just trying to see out the season and get it done. Do you think he deserves to win the championship, Paul? It's been a pretty tight chase between several riders. Anstey being one of those. Guillaume, even Sewer had an outside shot. But do you think Geiger's a worthy champion?
Well, as we look at Tim Geiser, as we look at Covington come over the line, and Geiser closing in with, 3.5 minutes to go. At the end of the day, you just have to assume that the guy with the most points deserves to win the championship. Look at Jordi Tixier last year, you know. But either way, you can look at the championship, and you look at the races earlier on in the year. Thailand, Tim Geiser wasn't allowed to start the second race because of dehydration. He didn't start Matterley Basin because he'd rang his bell, and he didn't finish the first race in Lockett in the Czech Republic. So, you know, to still be in with a shout after all of those, non-scores or no starts, you could argue then, well, he's done enough outside of that to get himself into contention, which he has.
And if we're talking about luck, you know, Paul Jonas escaping from those big crashes, then Geiger also having a nasty accident at the beginning of the Grand Prix of Latvia. But, you know, he's won 4 Grand Prix. You could say he is the rider that deserves the title the most. I was impressed by Paul Jonas' attitude this weekend. I mean, he really came out firing, didn't he? He wanted to
just
make
got
an
stood
impression.
up there in that background, in that right rut, went in, came out over the top, and had to rejoin again. So his gap is down to 7.6 seconds. He put in a faster lap of 59.9 compared to Covington's 2:01.7, and he's got fitness on his side. He's got time on his side as well. 2.25 minutes plus 2 laps to go. Are we going to be in for a race 2 grand finale here, Adam? Because the gap, is it still too big?
Yeah.
Oh. This is going to come down to fitness here and probably nerves on Covington's part.
Experience also, like you said. It's I don't think, has he led a Grand Prix? Even his Grand Prix debut in Qatar, he was top 3. I don't think he led the race.
He led, he's led qualifying races, hasn't he? And that kind of thing. And obviously got his first, he got a third in the race. Was it started last year? Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Qatar. But he led the European Championship race at Matterley Basin a couple of years ago, the year that Valentin Guillaume was champion, but then threw that away to finish 4th. 1.5 minutes to go, so the 2-lap board will go out next time. So 3 to go, and that gap back to Tim Geiser is, as he comes over the line, 6.3 seconds. Again, 2 seconds a lap, 3 laps to go. It's going to be tight. Thomas Covington now, he knows he's got to just put everything out there. Either way, it's going to be his best finish for the second, if that's what happens. But he's going for the race win here, because he'll look over and he'll see that Geiser's closing in, the World Championship leader. That's the jump that caught out Paul Jonas earlier on in the race. And here's Geiser. He took a look up, didn't he? He knows exactly where Thomas Covington is. Has he saved it for the end?
Here's lap times again. What the sector's like. Second quicker than Covington on that last one. Covington looking to be the first American Grand Prix MX2 winner since Zach Osborne.
Will be, yeah. Michael Lee won a race, didn't he, I think?
Yeah, he won a moto. Not a Grand Prix ever will be Zach, I think 2008 in Ireland.
Yeah.
So quite some time. And like you said, Paul, 1 week before Glen Helen, might just put a couple of extra fans on the gate.
Because this will also get him the Grand Prix victory as well. Even if Geiser goes through, we said it before, because 43 would take him down to 40. In fact, no, it would give up Geiser, because Geiser would move to 41 And Covington will move to 40. So this is for the overall Grand Prix win here, Adam.
Yeah. No. 3 more points, isn't it?
Yeah, but well, Covington's on 43. He will lose those 3 points, and Geiser will gain 3. So he'll go 41. Covington will go to 40.
On that last sector, the riders split by only 1/10 of a second, and again, half of a second on the last one as well. So Geiser's only making marginal gains. I'm bearing a mistake from Thomas Covington, but I think he's going to run out of time.
Well,
2 laps to go.
It's an easy track to make mistakes on, as we've seen, but he's been out there sitting pretty much from what, lap 2, lap 3? Certainly since Jonas went out.
He's going to get the hurry up from the pits, isn't he, Thomas Covington?
Right, 2-lap board goes out now. Thomas Covington, his lap time, a 2:06.91. Geiser over the line at 59.562. That gap down to 5.2 seconds, so he might just run out of time here. But he hasn't been in this position before, has he, Thomas Covington? You know, with 2 laps to go, leading an MX2 Grand Prix race. And with it, he probably doesn't know that he's got the possibility of winning a Grand Prix. He was 4th in race 1. He thinks he probably worked out that he's going to be on the podium. But you can see visibly Geiser is closing, because as he came over that single last time around, Covington was already down the other side of the jump.
How much of a risk is Tim Geiser going to take? We were talking about risks earlier, and Paul Jonas really paid for it by pushing as hard as he could.
Well, 3 points is 3 points, isn't it? In terms of the championship, at the moment, he's
19 ahead. 19
yeah,
in the
because
World
Jonas is up to
Yep.
14 now, isn't he?
So 50 left to win after this moto.
Julian Lieber in 3rd. On the standing constructor, sorry, that's Valentin Guillot, but Julian Lieber, so he's in 5th. Julian Lieber in 3rd place.
Oh, there he is, that's Patorel.
Yeah, so Patorel here. And Guillot closing in on Patorel as well. So look at those Yamahas there. 3rd, 4th and 5th. Valanderen dropped down to 6th place now. And that's 6th overall in the Grand Prix as well.
Yeah, but look at Patorel. If he gets past here, is he going to lose the podium? No, Anstey's in 4th.
Yeah.
Anstey's still circulating. If he could have pushed a little bit harder, he would have been on the box.
But a decent recovery for Guillot after his problems in race 1, going straight on at the first corner with Petr Petrov.
And also struggling a little bit with his shoulder that he injured in, is it the qualification heat or maybe the first moto from Assen?
Well, look at that for response for Thomas Covington. A 33.1 sets his own personal fastest lap sector in sector 2, a 33.9. So he's gained 8/10 back on Tim Geiser that time around, but then loses 6/10 at the next split. So
there's the points in the championship at the bottom of the screen. Geiser now on 518. There's Covington coming across. Last lap. There's no way Geiser's
no, 5.56 Geiser.
Yeah, there's no way he's going to close that down, is he?
So, final lap. This is turn 3. That gap, as you said, 5 seconds. Covington in a very, very good position now.
Well, that's the form book out the window. I thought Covington rode well in Assen on the sand. You know, he's been living kind of in Holland, so he's been adapting to that surface over the last 18 months, Paul. But
so
looking at here, Patorel getting something wrong.
He didn't get the drive, did he? And look at the shoulders. He realised that Guillot was probably going to jump it. So is there a problem there for the number 6 of Benoit Patorel, who gets pushed down to 5th place as Valentin Guillot goes through? Oh! It's like we say, easy to make a mistake around here, Adam. So that will be a warning for Thomas Covington. And the problem is, he knows that Geiser's closing, and if he reacts to that now, just watch this.
Breaking free a little bit.
Just the wrong side of a rut. Look at that. He was off the side of the bike almost and could have got high-sided, but got off the gas, and the mechanics are there just like...
Would have ended up in the cacti. Would have been even more painful.
But working his way out, far side of the circuits. That's turn 10. We're in front of the grandstand. That was a triple jump yesterday for some of these guys. This is turn 11. Up and over that little crest. Heading towards the off-camber at turn 12. He hasn't always got like 3 or 4 corners to go.
At the back of the shot.
Yeah, no, over the crest. So there's a back marker between him and the race leader, Thomas Covington. I think he's going to bring this one home, Adam.
Is Jonas going to gain another position as well, just looking further down the leaderboard as the names go across the screen?
I'm just thinking Thomas Covington here, he'll bring it home and crosses the line. He'll realise it'll be a celebration to have won a race. I don't think he'll realise straight away that he's taken the overall Grand Prix win, unless they tell him as he goes past pit lane. But there's Geiser in the background now, having found his way past the back marker. But this is the final corner, and Thomas Covington, Monster Energy Kawasaki, will cross the line. He will take his first ever race win in MX2. He celebrates, but does he know that he's got the Grand Prix victory? Well, here's Geiser. He'll cross the line in second and extend his lead in the championship over Paul Jonas. And third will go to Julian Lieber as he comes over the line in just a few moments' time. But be great to see if Covington is celebrating down there with the team, with the crew. But here is the battle. Lieber over the line third, Guillaume takes fourth, and Benoit Paturel takes fifth. And in terms of the Grand Prix, Thomas Covington on 43, Geiser on 38, Paturel on 36, Jonas on 33, and Anstey on 32. And here is Paul Jonas. He is now up to 13th place, but he's got around about 10, 11 seconds to make up to Brian Borgers.
Great recovery again, Paul. He was 13 points down coming into this Grand Prix, leaves 18 points behind. It's a bit of a shame because it should have been much tighter, maybe even with the red plate again.
And Bernardini just behind him there. So has Bernardini had a problem on this final lap? No, Bernardini's probably 2 laps ahead of him, isn't he? In all fairness, that's the reality for Paul Jonas, who's just up on the pegs. Again, this is damage limitation, isn't it? Glen Helen, a long track next week. The final round, we've got a bit of a showdown going down, but can't afford any more slip-ups, can he, Paul Jonas? And Honda are getting closer to picking up their first crown in the small bike class since Alessandro Puzar in 1995, 125 world champion.
And their first world championship since
Bolle? Their first MX2 world championship ever on a 4-stroke. And Frederic Bolle went back-to-back in 99 and 2000.
That was their last
Honda world titles in 250. But Paul Jonas crosses the line on the Red Bull KTM, but Thomas Covington, the race winner and overall Grand Prix winner, is here with Lisa.
Covington, congratulations. First ever MX2 race win and first GP victory overall. Congratulations.
Thank you. You know, it's just feels amazing. You know, I've just been through a lot the last 2 years. It's been pretty rough, but it feels so good to get a win.
Well deserved.
Thomas Covington, one of the shyest guys, one of the quietest riders in MX2, in the whole of the paddock actually. But didn't need to say too much more than he just said there. Obviously surprised, amazed, all the rest of it, but picking up a race win and a Grand Prix victory here. Father Mitch is here as well. So they'll look forward to heading to the USA in a week's time as a Grand Prix winner. Doesn't get any better than that, does it? So Thomas Covington wins race 2, Tim Geiser second, Julian Lieber third, Valentin Go fourth, Benoit Paturel fifth, and Calvin Belanderen, a great ride and a great weekend for him, coming home in 6th. Jeremy Seward was 7th, Harry Koulas 8th, Ivo Monticelli 9th, and Samuel Bernardini 10th. But the overall belongs to Thomas Covington on 43 points. His first ever Grand Prix victory for Monster Energy Kawasaki, his first in MX2. Tim Geiser 2nd overall, Benoit Paturel on the box in 3rd. So his first podium as well. 4th overall in the Grand Prix was Paul Jonas, and he has lost championship points. He was 4 behind Geiser going into race 2, but he has a bit of a mountain to climb now, because look at that, 5.56 Tim Geiser and 18 points adrift now Paul Jonas. It's not over though. Anstey 50 points down. He could still mathematically win it, but it's very much out of his hands now. And in terms of the manufacturers, KTM just 9 clear of Kawasaki, so that is not done either. Yamaha 3rd, Honda, Suzuki, Husqvarna, TM down there in 7th. Well, earlier on, right at the start of the race, we had the most dramatic foxhole shot of the year, I think, if not ever. Because it was Paul Jonas who slid his way over the line. Got hit by Tim Geiser and Julian Lieber on the way through as well. And it got worse for him as well during the race. No wonder he doesn't want to smile. Tonkov has 6, Herlings has 6, Anstey has 6. But what a dramatic MX2 race that was. Going down to the podium though, and 3rd overall, riding their Kimia Yamaha Yamalug machine. He got 4th in the Czech Republic. He got 4th in Lombardia at Mantova. It's 3rd overall this weekend. And the Frenchman Benoit Paturel takes his first ever podium in an FIM World Championship Grand Prix. Does it here in the MX2 Grand Prix at Lyon. And you can see what it means to him as well. That's consecutive podiums for that Kimia Yamaha Yamalug team as well. Tim Geiser, well, 2nd overall for the Honda Garibaldi rider, but he will have a big smile because A, he keeps the championship leader's red plate, and B, he's now 18 points clear. He's pulled 5 on Jonas. But Thomas Covington, Monster Energy Kawasaki Racing Team, takes his first ever race win, and with it seals his first ever Grand Prix victory in MX2 here in Lyon. And Harry Van Oot taking the manufacturer's trophy for Kawasaki when asked to do so. But Jorge Torres, Grupo Promo Medias, handing the sombrero and the silver trophy that replicates the hat to Benoit Paturel. 3rd overall this weekend. 3 different manufacturers on the box as well. Luis Antonio Greca, Director of Civil Protection, Guanajuato. And Tim Geiser, his 2nd place trophy. And of course, the hat as well. Team Tire sponsors adorn the top of the sombreros, of course, as Tire hats always on the podium. But for Thomas Covington, a great day for him. And Father Mitch, handing him, of course, Mitch Covington, Monster Energy. Great day for the family. Thomas Covington on the left, Mitch Covington on the right. Of course, Mitch Covington of Monster Energy. Proud moment for him, proud moment for son Thomas as well, and also for Team Monster Energy Kawasaki in MX2. But Tony Skillington, the FIM CMS director, hands the red plate to Tim Geiser. He keeps the championship lead going into the final round. But for Thomas Covington and all of his fans back home in the United States of America, the national anthem for the USA. Thomas Covington, Team Monster Energy Kawasaki, your overall winner here, the MX2 Grand Prix of Lyon, the penultimate round of the season. Tim Geiser, 2nd overall for Honda Garibaldi, and Benoit Paturel, Kimia Yamaha Yamalug. All 3 riders have reasons to smile and celebrate this weekend, because for Covington, his first ever Grand Prix victory. For Geiser, he keeps hold of the championship lead and extends his lead as well. For Benoit Paturel, his first ever podium. So some of the highlights then of the second MX2 race, of course, won by Thomas Covington. Monster Energy Kawasaki rider took his first overall Grand Prix victory as well. Tim Geiser, second overall for him, extends his lead in the championship table. For Benoit Paturel, Kimiya Yamaha Yamalube, his first ever visit to the podium in MX2. Back-to-back podiums as well, because a 2 weekends ago, previous round in Assen, it was his teammate Brent Van Donnick who was on the third step of the podium. So for Hans Corvus and everybody down there, Marnik Mavutz, the team manager, a good weekend for those guys and a great end to their season as well. Still one round to go though, of course, the Monster Energy Grand Prix of the USA at Glen Helen in a week's time. And for Thomas Covington, he goes there now, having won his first ever race in MX2 and with it his first ever Grand Prix victory. So they certainly give the American fans something to shout about on top of the riders who are already entered that Grand Prix, the final round of the season. And then, of course, don't forget the FIM Monster Energy Motocross of Nations 1 week after that. So 2 weeks from now, the end of September, at Ernay in France, where Team France are the defending champions. Gauthier Paulin will ride there as number 1, Marvin Musquin 2, and Romain Fevre will ride there as number 3. And they'll be looking to defend it successfully on home soil. But here is Thomas Covington. He's with Lisa.
Thomas Covington, first overall Grand Prix victory, first podium of the year as well, but you seem a bit in shock. When were you aware you actually won the overall?
Yeah, I didn't know I won the overall until they told me to go up to the podium, and I was like, which one do I stand on? So, yeah, I'm just so pumped, and just got to thank the Lord Jesus Christ for watching over me the last 2 years over there in Europe, and Traxxas, Mike Jenkins, and Monster Energy. They've been with me since I was 10 years old, you know, and Kawasaki's been with me my whole career too. Just wouldn't be here without them. And yeah, just WP, Serge, and Pirelli, Thor, everybody that's helped me out, thanks.
Well deserved, congratulations. Second overall today, we have Tim Geiser. Unlucky in that first moto, but you managed to regroup and pull it all together again and extend your championship lead.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the weekend. You know, first race was it was muddy, really muddy, and yeah, I didn't take the best start and then also crash. So I finished 5th. Was not so bad, but Jonas closed me, I think, to 4 points behind me. So it was really tight, you know. But now second race was much better. You know, they put the mud off the track, and you have many lines, you know, like 3-4 lines in the corner. So it was really nice, you know. And I'm just so happy and want to say just thank you to everybody who is around me, all my team, all my sponsors, all my family, my brother, my dad, everybody. Thank you guys.
Congratulations, Tim. Third overall today at the MXGP of Lyon. We have Benoit Paturel, smiles all round. First podium of the year under very tough conditions. When everyone else got into trouble, you managed to stay consistent.
Yes, it's incredible for me. It's the first podium. I don't have word now, and thanks a lot my team, everybody, and je remercie vraiment mes parents avec qui sans jeu je serais pas là, mon gros qui me regarde, ma copine, tout le monde, mon frère, tous mes amis, ma famille et surtout un bon anniversaire maman, je t'aime. C'est trop bien. Yeah!
Very happy Benoit, congratulations.
Benoit Paturel, third overall, his first ever MX2 podium, his first podium full stop in World Championship. Obviously, speaking in French there, thanking everybody, his parents and girlfriend, family, friends, fans, team, everybody that's helped him get here. And you can understand how happy he is. But Tim Geiser, also equally happy, extending his lead at the top of the championship standings.